Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face, tell me that you love me, even if it's fake.
The first thing we're going to need to do is get set up with our programming environment so that we can start developing smart contracts. Most of the stuff that we need to write the client-side dApps is really going to be JavaScript. We can write it in whatever text document we want to. And frankly, Solidity itself we can write in whatever environment we want to as well. And we'll talk more on this in the future. But what we really need to have installed is the Truffle test server. This will be both a test server, but it also includes a number of tools that are going to compile our applications. If you remember, smart contracts don't get compiled on the Ethereum network. They're already compiled bytecode when they exist in the blockchain. So we're going to need to be able to compile them and also migrate them. And Truffle is an amazing tool to help us do that. And in addition, it has a built-in test server. I'm also going to go over installing Ganache. The Ganache works side by side with Truffle. It's actually optional to use because we have a test server that runs with Truffle. But if you want to, it does provide a nice visual interface. So it's basically just an Ethereum test server that you can run with the special GUI that you can use to see what's going on and see how much ETH is at different addresses and be able to easily visually browse the transactions that are happening. Installing Truffle for both Windows and Mac is the same basic process. It's going to use the node installer npm. So in order to do that, you first want to make sure that you have Node.js 5 or higher. Let's go ahead and open our terminal. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to simply type in npm install, and that's how we install them. And actually on the Macintosh, I want to make sure to run sudo because it's going to need administrator permission. So sudo npm install -g truffle. And then it's going to ask me for my password. That's because I'm running sudo. And you'll see it's going to do a bunch of things, unpack things, and you can see it downloaded and installed everything. So to make sure it's installed, I can type in Truffle version. And that gives me the version both of Truffle that I'm using and the version of Solidity that's available to me. So that's basically it for Truffle. I now have an environment. It's a command line environment where I can do a bunch of things. I'm going to do testing of my smart contracts. I can run a little testing server. I can actually do building and migrations of my smart contracts. And the other thing that we want to install, and this is optional, but I will show you how to use it in this course, is Ganache. The easiest thing and the easiest way to do this is to simply go to the GitHub and download the correct version for your operating system. And it's a simple executable. You can install it and then you'll be all set and good to go. Once it's downloaded, you can go ahead and launch the installer. And then we can go in here to make sure it's installed. Double click it. And yes, I want to enable it to open. And it's firing up. You can enable or disable analytics. That's really up to you. Just like all these things, you can help them with their development. So you can see now I'm set up. It's mining this as my gas price. And here are all my wallets, and it defaults 10 wallets with 100 ETH in each of them. So we're set up in there. The last thing I wanted to cover for Windows users are some of these naming conflicts. So there are a few things you can do. And the main thing is truffle.cmd is on the path that's part of npm, but the configuration file is in a different directory. So there are a few different workarounds here, and you're going to have to decide which works best for you. So that's basically it. We've got our server all set up. We're ready to start writing some smart contracts.